Welcome to the Nitpicking Nerds. Today we're examining one question.
Could cutting staples increase your win percentage?
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds, bringing you daily Commander content. If you like what we're putting out, go to the Patreon in the description and support the channel. It's the best way to do that. Also, happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today.
Yeah, happy birthday to every one of you. If you want to support us indirectly, because Patreon is directly, well, you can go support yourself by buying the Magic cards you wanted to buy anyway on tcgplayer.com. Start with our affiliate link in the description below, and guess what? You spend $0 extra, but you support the YouTube channel you've come to love over the years.
That's us.
Amazing content. That is us. You can also do the same with Dragon Shield. Buy the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
Literally the best sleeves that you could ever buy. You go to that website, buy them for the same price you're going to get them for anyway. And again, you're supporting the nerds. Amazing sleeves.
2-for-1 value. So I have recently, if you're a member of the YouTube Nitpicking Nerds subscription community, you can see on the community tab, I've been putting out some polls talking about, because I've heard this opinion in a couple places now where people are saying, hey, cutting staples, that's going to be better for you in the long run because they're going to be making you the target and you don't want people gaining up on you. So by not playing the staples at all, your win percentage goes up. And we're going to talk about that.
So, yep, for this video, the question is that we're going to be approaching is, does cutting staples or can cutting staples increase your win percentage?
And the staples in question, some of the best cards, colloquial, I guess, quote unquote, best cards in Commander. We're talking Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Ancient Tomb, Rhystic Study, Smothering Tithe, Necropotence, Consecrated Sphinx. The stuff that stays out, like Crater of Behemoth isn't really one of these cards because it's out for like 5 seconds and you either win or you're done. But these cards that stay in play and they just, if you leave them out, you either generate a ton of value and take over the game unless people gang up on you.
Another property of these cards is they're undeniably good in all of Commander except for maybe CEDH. So these are like cards that nobody is going to go and have an argument over what is good at. We left out cards that might be controversial. There are definitely those staple-y cards that exist that the nerds might say is bad, or other people might say is bad. These cards are not those. These are just amazing Magic cards all around the EDH tables.
Yeah, it's not cards that we're gonna disagree about. If you let it go, they're gonna run away with the game. The question is, if you cut them, do you win more games? Now, the disclaimer, we cannot address multiple points. So we're really just addressing this one thing, which has to do with power. So we're not talking about fun, we're not talking about budget, and we're not talking about CEDH because we never do that anyway.
Yes, exactly. If you're worried about diversity of your deck and you want to cut Soul Ring from some decks to be able to play different cards, that's a totally fine reason. If you're playing CEDH, that's a whole different ballpark. Like you said, budget is, again, just a completely different beast. We can't address all these things at the same time. Now, we could easily go into a whole video about, is it more fun to play less Soul Rings? Sure.
Different question.
Different question. You can definitely approach that. But today it's about win percentage. So it's about power.
Yeah, and how could they actually decrease your win percentage? How could playing some of the best cards in Commander decrease your win percentage? Well, the argument seems to be you become the target or the arch enemy, or having them in play for these longer casual games won't be worth it when everyone can see it and adjust political dealings accordingly.
So if you have something like Soul Ring in your deck and you draw it turn one, you put it onto the battlefield, okay, you're 2 mana ahead of every player at the table that doesn't have a Soul Ring, which will be most players because this is a 100-card singleton format. So you are indeed going to become the enemy of the other 3 players, the arch enemy, if you will, and you'll be teamed up on until the Soul Ring is removed or players are able to catch up to your mana with some other form of ramp.
And there's other scenarios like if you slam a Necropotence and you draw 15 cards, even if the Necropotence goes away, you're going to get targeted pretty hard because they know you're now a threat for the rest of the game. You might be the prime target for attacks. But taking all that into consideration, we have to get to, what do we think? Does cutting staples increase your win percentage?
I think the simple answer is cutting staples, no. It doesn't increase your win percentage almost ever. There can be situations where if you play at a table that is aggressively hating against Soul Ring, like if they see a Soul Ring, that player is arch enemy. That could happen. But 99% of tables and 99% of games you're going to play, these are going to increase your win percentage. These cards are the staples and the bedrock of the format because they are so powerful and do so much for you.
Yeah, we're not going to just say that. I mean, we have 10 points to get to, 10 bullets that we're going to talk about, but it's also, I'll just get this out of the way. It is almost impossible to even say that cutting Soul Ring, Rhystic Study, whatever, increases your win percentage. You could keep track of 100 games, get your win percentage, cut exactly Rhystic Study to play another 100 games, get your win percentage, and then you have almost no idea if it actually helped or not. It could be worse, it could be better, it could be the exact same, and you don't know if it was because of that or because of anything else. But it just like this is more of an abstract, like, hey, would this be better for you? Do you feel like you're winning more games?
Yeah, there really isn't enough data to take in and consume to be like, this is an objective fact.
You need thousands and thousands and thousands.
Yes, so we're going to start. I'll start with the classic Nitpicking Nerds disclaimer. We're not an authority. We don't get to tell you exactly this is a truth or this is a fact. This is our opinion and how we see it from our side of the table.
This is why we would say, no, I'm not cutting Soul Ring because I don't think it'll increase my win percentage.
I'm not even, I think that the other side, it feels to me like, is this, if it's like a scale, like how close is it? It feels like the scale is like this. It's like Soul Ring increases win percentage, and in decreasing win percentage is like, no, I just don't think it does, and it's almost not even comparable.
I'm not sure how you get there, and we'll talk about our reasons, but hey, that's why this format's so interesting. So we'll get to our reasons, and you can let us know what you think.
So first and foremost, benefits outweigh the cost. The benefit of all the cards we listed is so high. A Mana Crypt on turn 1 is insane. A Mana Crypt on turn 7 is insane. Cards like this just warp the game. A stupid Soul Ring on turn 6 is 1 extra mana on turn 6 and then 2 extra mana for the rest of the game. These kind of cards just absolutely dominate games and put you in positions where you're just going to win more.
Yes, there's no question that they're super powerful. Everyone seems to know that they're super powerful. And I think with these cards, almost all the ones, especially the ones we name dropped in the beginning, the benefits outweigh the cost of, what do I get? Well, Consecrated Sphinx, I get like, if they don't kill it, presumably, because that's what all these are, I get like 6 cards minimum. And then I can untap and go from there. Necropotence, I get like 10 cards minimum. I untap and go from there. See what happens. I like saying that just as a broad statement, and I'm getting to the next one. I think politics and advantage are what actually cause the team-ups, not the cards. So it's not like he played Rhystic Study, let's team up on him. It's like, no, he drew a bunch of cards, he's now ahead in resources, let's team up on him. That's not exclusive to any Magic card. Let's say you cut the top 25 staples because you think it'll increase your win percentage. Well, there's like the best cards in your deck. There's a power ranking. Well, you've got rid of the first 5, and now whatever was number 6 becomes the most threatening card in your deck. And then if I'm playing against you, I know, hey, Kathar's Crusade is now the best card in his deck. Let's team up on him and get him. You don't actually get rid of the whole politic arch enemy thing.
Yeah, and also on the same exact note as that, somebody plays a Rhystic Study, it doesn't just make them the threat automatically. It's all about people looking at the board and examining it and telling who's the big. If somebody has a huge board, they have a Kratos in their graveyard and like 7 tokens, 7/1/1 tokens, and they actively always have ways to reanimate. That's what their deck does. Guess what? The threat is not the guy who played Rhystic Study. It's the guy with the Kratos in his graveyard. The name of the card, Rhystic Study, doesn't make it a threat automatically. It's all about the board state. Now, the card Rhystic Study on turn 2 that you ramped into is obviously completely different and bonkers, and that's when you become a threat. Not because Rhystic Study is extremely good. It's just because you played an insanely good threat on turn 2.
Right. Now, from what I've seen from other people commenting and whatnot, I think some of the problem also is people are playing against friends and other randoms at LGSs who go, you're playing Mystic Remora and Rhystic Study, or you have Cyclonic Rift in your deck, I'm just going to kill you. That, I think, is like really bad threat assessment, which, if it was me at least, I would just chalk it up to, okay, they're playing really bad threat assessment. Like, it's not going to be good for them in the long run. Doesn't mean I shouldn't play Rhystic Study.
I would agree with that, like, literally 100%.
But even if you're in a situation where you can't play these cards, like you're just going to get destroyed every time, that's a specific meta call. It doesn't actually say anything about, like, a general statement of, hey, if someone else asked you, should I take this card out? You'd have no information because you only know about your exact meta.
All right, another great point. So let's just pick one at random. Rhystic Study. So Rhystic Study, you draw it and you slam it. Ugh, people do see you as a bigger threat now because you played one of the best cards in the format. I can see that for sure. The person to your left untaps, draws, plays Rhystic Study, pays the 1 for yours. Okay. Now we're put in the same situation where we're both equally threatening. And because we're both playing that card, we're at the advantage over the other 2 players. It's not vice versa. It is literally we're in the advantage because we have the best card on the field.
Right, and you both have Rhystic Study. Or let's say even there's 2 Rhystic Studies and 2 Smothering Tides in play. Like, obviously that's a nightmare. But all of you drew one of these staple threatening cards. There, isn't going to be any archenemy team up because it's kind of all, you're still doing your own thing and you can make deals and stuff, but it's not like one person is so far ahead. And 2, when one person inevitably wins, is it because they had their card? Is it because everybody else had it later? Like, it's so hard to tell. Because you lose the game despite having these staple cards, but somebody won the game because they had the staple cards. It is like, how do you determine that card made you lose the game? Everybody had one. You're all equal.
Yeah, exactly. I think that these statistics that you're trying to figure out, they're not really. It's too hard to ever say that statement. We have determined, and we know from everybody playing Commander, that Ristic Study is a good card that helps you win games. We know that to be a true statement. I don't know how you could ever measure the other side. It seems nearly impossible to say that if we play a whole game of Commander, that's 7-8 turns, and I played a Ristic Study on turn 3, that was what lost me the game. I don't know how you could come to that conclusion.
Even if people say, we're going to team up on you, I mean, we'll get to that later. But now, as soon as you get to multiple people have multiple staples, everybody's got one of these cards that is a big threat. How could you say 3 of them have to lose the game? But it's not necessarily because they had those cards. Like, one person has to win and 3 people have to lose, even though they played the staple card.
Exactly. The average win percentage of a Commander game, player, deck, anything is 25%. There are 4 players at the table. If you sit down for 4 games, on average, you'll win 1. Now, if you play Ristic Study in 2 of them and you lose those 2, it's not because Ristic Study is bad. It's because Commander's stupidly hard to win.
You don't have enough information to say that. Another thing that goes through my head when people talk about taking Ristic Study and all these cards out of their deck, no Consecrated Sphinx, no Smothering Tithe, is, all right, would I want to play a game where my 3 opponents don't have access to any of those cards and I have access to all of them that I want? Yeah, I'm going to play the heck out of that game. I feel like I would be super favored. They don't ever have the turn 1, 2, and 3 plays. They're going to have the next efficient thing they can do. But in terms of, like, they basically have said they won't play anything on turns 1 to 5 that makes them a threat. I'm going to get in that pod. I want to be in that pod.
Yeah, no, I think this is actually, it's funny. You say, if the pod is, I am playing all the stapley cards, and my deck is, we're about the same power level, but I'm playing the staples and they're not.
However many you want.
I think that my deck, I would have a higher win percentage. And I don't even think that's controversial. It's like, I'm playing, a 5-color deck, and I have Dockside Extortionist. I have Ristic Study, Necropotence, Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, and all my opponents just aren't playing those cards.
I mean, not even all of them. Like, I have 4 whammies in my deck, and I know for a fact that my opponents have 0 whammies in their deck. Let's shuffle up and play. I feel like my chances would be better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's a feeling. It feels like we know we as Magic players have come to the conclusion of what the best cards in this format are. These stapley cards. And we are only talking about cards that are not controversial. These staples. We've come to the conclusion that these are the best. They're the best because of what they do and how they provide advantage and how they push you towards winning the game. That is why they are the best. They're not just the best because they're staples. They're not just the best because they exist. They are those cards that push you towards win percentages.
Yeah, next one. Let's say you draw Necropotence, and you go and you kind of do your thing, but you don't get off to the craziest start. And the other 3 people, they can now team up and take you out. So if you get teamed up on, after, let's say Necropotence, you play it and you do the thing. If you get teamed up on and then you lose, it's still, even though you got teamed up on because you played Necropotence, you might not have lost because of Necropotence. You just got teamed up on because of Necropotence. For example, if the game goes and like, okay, we got to stop you, and they cripple you a little bit, and then the game goes on, and then somebody just Protean Hulk combos and just wins the game. How could you ever say now that because I got teamed up on, Necropotence lost me the game? Like, I should take that card out of my deck. It's like, it just seems like, depending on how things go, unless you're in some really specific scenario where they're like showing you the answer to Protean Hulk, and they're like, nope, over here instead, and then they go, I win. You just can't say. It is impossible.
Exactly. You have to put yourself in the best position you can to win every game. Now, your deck doesn't have to be 100% optimal. Well, that's not what we're talking about here. It's not like put every staple in that you absolutely should. No, it's, are you looking for higher win percentage? You should be playing these staples. And I lose, it's just kind of, it's mind-boggling. I just don't know the game that can happen where you could point to and say Necropotence was the reason that I lost this game. Now, I can't, because it would be the game where you paid 39 life, went to 1 and got bolted. Obviously, you can point to that game. I'm talking about you draw like 6, 7, 8 extra cards, and then it gets destroyed, gave you 8 cards for 3 mana, and then you could say, yep, Necropotence was the reason I lost that game. It's like, the following that seems so hard. It seems, I can't see the line that would point to that is the exact reason and nothing else.
Right. Someone else is going to have to come up with a win condition and kill you it depends on how they came up with that win condition and if it would have happened anyway and if there was a way to stop it. It's just like this most nebulous thing. That's why we're not getting into like this nitty-gritty stuff. It's just I'm painting a scenario and going, how do you ever get data from this?
Exactly. I don't see where the data could possibly come from. I take... Let me just be clear. I don't play Ristic Study in all my blue decks. I take it out all the time. But I'm very aware that when I do so, it's not to make my deck better. It's to make my deck more fun, diverse, all these other key things. You don't need to play Ristic Study in every deck because Commander is not 100% about winning.
No.
But when you're taking winning into consideration, it's really tough for you to convince me you shouldn't have Ristic Study in your deck.
For those who may have missed it, we're still only responding to one question, which is, deck stronger or weaker with Ristic Study? And we're saying, how could it be weaker? Here are a bunch of things that talk about just the one claim that we're examining. We've also heard the argument that playing one of these cards later in the game and then having it stick around for a few turns, even though you don't get insane value, people are paying for your Ristic Study, you only draw 4 cards off Consecrated Sphinx, it still isn't quote-unquote that good. I understand that a turn 1 Soul Ring is better than a turn 6 Soul Ring. Turn 6 Soul Ring is still insane. It's better than any other mana rock you could have ever drawn. It's going to give you more mana than anything else that anyone else is doing.
Yeah, look at a turn 7 Dockside Extortionist. It's just as insane as the turn 3/4 one that they're both getting you insane amounts of mana. These kind of cards, the cards we're talking about that are undeniably good.
They make you the threat.
They make you the threat. They're good throughout the game. Like, it's weird for me to go that these cards don't scare well into the late game. It's like, but they do. Almost all of them do.
Compared to any other play, any mana dork, well, it can't produce mana the same turn. Any other mana rock, well, it's probably not producing positive mana this turn and then 2 more next turn. It's just a free roll. When you draw them in the late game, it's like, oh, I'm very happy to see this. It's not like I don't win on the spot. I don't get the initial boost, but I still get as big of a boost as is humanly possible off the top of my deck. I like these next two because it answers the question, hey, can I remove these staples and my deck be worse? Well, not in games where you're the archenemy, but it doesn't matter because you're too far ahead. How many games have we seen of those? We've recorded Shuffle Scuffle test games where somebody slams a Soul Ring and they're playing, all right, turn 3, here's a 5-drop. Oh, that's tough, guys. We're all ganging up against them. And they go, turn 4. I think shout out to our friend Eric. He goes, make you discard your hand, play a Planeswalker. And it's like, the game's over. We're done. I understand that he played Soul Ring and we had all the chances we could have had. We had a couple draw steps to deal with it. We were all teamed up against him. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter at all.
Yeah, no, and Soul Ring can do stuff like that. These kind of staple cards just do that. We played, so we consider precons to be about a 4 power level.
Out of 10.
That's where we genuinely would put a precon. So we were playing precons against each other. Prosper had turn 1 Soul Ring. They played turn 2 Prosper, and guess what? It was a non-game.
Never even came close.
It never even came close. It put you so far ahead because you were playing the Soul Ring. I was the player actually playing Prosper, and I was teamed up on by 3 other players.
The whole time.
It could not have mattered at all. That's what these kind of cards can do for you.
Yeah, you're giving that up when you take these out of your deck because they're the 1 percenters. There's no replacing these cards for the most part. So you're giving up this play because sometimes it's bad for you, but most of the time it kind of ends up looking like boop, bop, boop. Here you go. Can we answer it? No. You want to just go to the next game? Yeah. That's just, these cards can quote unquote ruin games, at least from the perspective of your opponents.
All right, you play the turn 1 Mana Crypt this time, okay? You're doing something a little different. Not Soul Ring this time.
Okay.
Turn 0 Mana Crypt. You're the arch enemy.
Turn 0 now?
People got to stop you. Turn 1, turn 0, whatever. You played the Mana Crypt right away. It's on the battlefield, but nobody has an answer. Okay, you're the threat and everyone's coming after you, but if they can't remove your Mana Crypt, you're making 2 extra mana every single turn. If your deck is built in a centric and works well and it's just, a functional good deck, how are you ever going to lose when you're 2 mana ahead for the whole entire game?
This is separate from the first one, which was, hey, it doesn't matter that you're teaming up against me. I destroyed you 1 or 2 turns later, or maybe the same turn. I just annihilated you. This is more like you're teaming up, but you just can't answer my Ristic Study. So I'm way ahead on cards. I'm way ahead on tempo. I have more resources to actually fight you off until I can maybe win the game. So this is even more of the drawn out stuff where sometimes it just doesn't matter. Sometimes I'm going to draw more cards than you. You put up a best fight as 3 people for a couple turns even, and you still just lose.
Yeah, and more on the point of what I was saying. When you play these cards, all of these that we listed provide you a huge advantage in the game. Whether it's like Smothering Tithe, mana, whether it's, that's Soul Ring and that's also Mana Crypt. They're
mostly mana cards.
huge mana advantages. I mean, and then there's Necropotence, there's drawing cards, there's Rhystic Study, also just giving you huge amounts of card advantage for low investment. That's what's going on here. And now, when you get these large advantages, your deck, when built in a centric way or a way to function and use this stuff properly, you're going to run away with the game. Now, I'm not saying that that's every game, because guess what? Sometimes you'll draw 20 extra cards and you'll draw 13 lands, and that sucks. And that's going to happen sometimes where the card doesn't get you to where you need to be, and you look like you're more of a threat than you are. Like, he's got 20 cards in hand, we got to stop him. But you're looking, it's like, I got 15 islands.
It's like, what a place to be in, though. You know, let me roll those dice every day of the week.
Yeah.
Draw 20 cards, but 1% of the time they're bad cards.
Exactly. It's just, my point is that, like, when you build a nice, awesome deck that's functional and does what it wants to do, these advantages that are pushed by these cards are going to up your win percentage. Oh, you're going to win way more games with those advantages than without them.
I think another thing people have brought up is, hey, I've seen somebody have a Mana Crypt in play for the whole game or have one of these cards in play, and they still end up losing. People know to team up on them and they die. I think, actually, this isn't always, but speaking purely power-wise, if you've got some of these cards and they're going and you're churning and you're doing your thing, but it takes you if it's going to take you 10 turns to close the game or 5 turns to close the game once your engine's rolling, I think there might be a problem with your deck and you might need more win conditions at that point. These cards can only do so much. They're not going to literally win you the game. You got to pair them with things. And if your deck is super slow, but it could be faster, and you are actively complaining and you're upset that you can't win with these cards out, it's not the issue of the cards. It's not like take the cards out and you'll get some pressure off your back. It's like, no, I think your deck might have a closing issue.
Yeah, I mean, maybe even Beezy runs into this issue. He's a huge wheel spinner.
Oh yeah,
and he'll spin his wheels all day, and he just doesn't. His decks sometimes are built in a way where when he spins his wheels, he just gets stuck not doing anything and not winning because he's low on win conditions. We just looked at his. I
have a creature deck, and I have 2 win conditions.
Exactly.
What the heck am I doing?
It's like you can go. You have critical mass, and you had a couple
overrun
effects, but that was it. It's like you can spin your wheels all day, but you're not converting this into a win.
Yeah,
and that wasn't a problem with the Skull Clamp in his deck that was drawing him 100 cards. No, it was a problem with his deck building.
Yeah, Skull Clamp's another one. How did we not mention that? Yeah, but it's not the problem of Skull Clamp that I can draw 30 cards and not win. That was my deck's problem. I needed another Elish Norn effect to close things out. This last one is true of about 50% of these staples. We're talking Necropotence, Consecrated Sphinx, your Soul Rings, and your Mana Crypts, more so than the scaling with opponents cards like Rhystic Study. But when you're down to a 1v1 scenario, when it's just you and some other person, also, hi Ember, these cards are going to bury them. It is going to not be close. They're already dominating in a 4-player environment. What about when there's no one to even team up on you? How could you argue that you become archenemy when there's nobody left and you just crush them? I want to have access to those cards in my deck. All right, the last thing we wanted to share, as Amber just goes ham on this mic stand, is we did a couple polls on the channel, and if you haven't seen them, we're going to put them up here for you. The first one, 5,300 votes, and I'm just going to read you verbatim what I wrote. I said, will playing cards that, quote-unquote, make you the target lead to more victories? Think Soul Ring, Rhystic Study, everything we've been spouting out for the past half hour. So out of the 5,300 people that voted, 68% said they cause you to win more games, and 32% said they cause you to lose more games. I thought that number was really high, but I will also say that for this poll, I could have phrased it a little bit better. What the answer should have been was they cause you to win more games and they don't cause you to win more games. I kind of left out the middle ground, so those people may have voted for something they didn't believe in or they had no spot to go. So there was a little bit of an error with the question, but generally this is what we see.
Yeah, and I think that it's just good to hop right into the second one because it's a better worded question and it'll give us more data. For this one, we asked, to piggyback off of yesterday's poll, if you exclude cards from your deck that make you a target, Soul Ring, Rhystic Study, Consecrated Sphinx, Smothering Tithe, etc. It doesn't say that, but etc. Will it increase your win percentage overall? Now, 15% of people said yes, it will increase your win percentage overall, and 85% said no. It seems like it's pretty unanimous that playing these cards obviously increases your win percentage overall.
If I am a little confused, I know that there's some margin for error between the first one and the second one, but it's 30-60 and then 85-15. I don't know if the phrasing made a huge difference. It felt like I was asking basically the same question. Not really sure what the deal was. The reason there was only 2,000 responses to this last one is we just posted it today.
Yeah, we did just post it today. It's super interesting. I just don't think, if you ask me this question, I mean, the answer is to me, feels so obviously no. I feel like if you take the best cards in the format and don't put them in your deck, you will win. You will not increase your win percentage. That just seems kind of obvious to me.
Yeah, we got a lot of answers of it depends. And of course it depends. It always depends, but that's actually not what the question's asking. It's as a general rule, will you win more games on average if you take these cards out? It doesn't. Sure it depends, but there's either a yes or a no. You think one of those things. You're leaning towards one of those. Or I don't know, but in that case, still you would vote no because you don't think it will increase your win percentage.
Again, Commander, a completely and ridiculously complex format. And even though we personally feel the answer is no, and it seems obvious to us, that doesn't make us, the authority. It doesn't make us correct. We back up our point, we support our point, and we tell you exactly what we think and why we think it. Are we necessarily correct? No, but we have an opinion, and we at least have our reasons for believing it.
Yeah, we have a 10-course food for thought on this video, and you can do what you want with it. I'd like to talk to people in the comments. Maybe there's a point we didn't even touch on. Maybe there's some huge glaring thing we overlooked. Let us know.
Yeah, I think we hit the major points. We tried to hit everything that we thought was relevant to this conversation.
Certainly everything relevant on our side. Maybe there's something we haven't considered for the other side, but I just think that the weight of these 9 or 10 things we covered is so heavy. There's no question that these cards dominate games.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's part of the problem is you can't get over that fact. That fact has to be true even to say that you should cut these cards.
Yeah, exactly. We start with the point of, is cutting the best... instead of just saying... We use the word staples, but essentially it's cutting the best cards in the format from your deck going to make your deck better is essentially what we come down to, and that just sounds almost crazy to me. How could that be true?
You brought up a point, I don't want to quote you, but you said something about that would be good to say here. You could imagine a card that actually has this description, though?
I can imagine the card that fits the description. The card would be something, let's make it, it's going to be easier just to make it a card. Let's say it's Phyrexian Arena, okay? Phyrexian Arena is viewed as this staple, amazing card that everyone loves, runs away with games all the time. That's the perception of it. The realistic nature of it is...
It's Phyrexian Arena.
It's Phyrexian Arena. It's an okay Magic card that sometimes can get you some card advantage. Now, if the perception is incorrect about how good a card is versus how good the card actually is, I think that's where this can actually happen.
Right. It would have to be a massive misevaluation of how good a card actually is to where I would say I would definitely, maybe I would cut a medium card from my deck or an okay card from my deck so that people stop freaking out about it.
But I think realistically at this point in time, with how popular Commander is and how popular just Magic is as a card game, there is not going to be a card like that going forward. I would say maybe there was in the past, and it can potentially be true, but it would take huge misevaluation by the whole community. But that is our video. Special shout out to every single one of our patrons. Love you guys all as much as we can without making fun. Uncomfortable. Seriously, thank you all for the support. We love making these videos where we rant and rave about how good Sobering is.
That Ristic Study is a good Commander card, and it sounds so silly just saying, I think you should keep Ristic Study in your deck. But, we're having a discussion here.
We're having a discussion here, and we've heard the other side. We didn't just bring this up out of the blue. It's not like we said, it's not like we just oh, yeah, well, there's two sides to this argument. It's well, no, we heard the other side of the argument, so we brought our side and what we thought.
Yeah, quick shout out. I think Demo from EDH Deck Building has a few. I don't know he's directly on this side that we're arguing against, but I know he has a few opinions that are definitely opposite of ours on this.
Yeah, just standing on the opposite side. So if you want to support us, obviously Patreon, you can be one of these guys scrolling on the card, or tcgplayer.com, affiliate link in the description below. Go there, click the affiliate link. Guess what? Takes you to tcgplayer.com.
Whoa.
Once you're on that website, you know what you can do? Buy Magic cards. The Magic cards you were going to purchase anyway. And now that you've bought them, guess what? The nerds get a kickback.
Yeah, I think you can see Amber's face here. She's just loving these pets. And if you want to give Amber more pets, I will do it. If you go to the Dragon Shield link in the description, best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
Even Amber likes those sleeves. She lays on them sometimes. Go buy the cards, and you're supporting the channel if you start with the link.
Amber's a big fan of our binders that hold cards. She loves going. She's an older cat. She was declawed far before bees even got her, and she's not declawed. We would never declaw a cat at this point. I want to say that.
I got her, and then we declawed her, but it was legal back then, and we didn't really know that it was harmful to cats.
Yeah, but regardless of any of that, she's declawed. So she just gets on the binders and goes,
sharpens nothing.
Yeah,
she just kind of messes with them. It doesn't even hurt the binder.
No, she knocked the zipper off of one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw it on the ground today.
That's great.
So I don't know how many of you know this. Me and Beezy work on pretty much all of our daily content together, and we're able to throw these together pretty quickly. Like because we live together and we're best friends and we don't really go out that much, especially because of COVID.
And we don't really have too many arguments about, if someone has an idea, like, hey, that's a good idea. We'll either add it to the list or we'll just do it right now.
Yeah, exactly. So all of that, let's just crank out these videos. For our main videos that you see weekly, we pretty much record them the day before, and I edit them and we throw them out the next day. That's a pretty common trend. Scuffle Shuffle, or Shuffle Scuffle as the kids call it.
As everyone in the world calls it, because that's the name of it.
Shuffle Scuffle, our gameplay series, obviously takes a lot more work than that. They take super long to record.
It's 5 hours.
We have to get 2 other people together that aren't us.
Coordinate schedules,
build decks if the episode requires deck building. We currently have 2 episodes that have not aired yet.
Right, that are done.
On the editing block.
Right.
They're being edited as we speak. And I just thought it was interesting that we crank out content so fast when it comes to daily content, a podcast type episode that only requires us. It's super easy. But then you flip the script, it's all right, let's make a gameplay episode. The first one, with us knowing nothing, took 3 months to produce.
It was 4 tries.
It was crazy. It's so crazy to think about the difference between those 2 types of videos.
I think we both do a reasonable amount of work where, I don't think you would say it's as crazy as it seems to us to make daily content for a year. But I think we also push the envelope because we're always working on extra other crazy stuff. We're doing daily content and then randomly one of the days is just reading every Magic card for 6 hours, or here's a 2 or an hour and a half big project, or here's 100 Magic facts, where I just think it's funny. Still daily content, but every once in a while there's some big video that takes forever.
Yeah, Shuffle Scuffle is going to start taking up slots in the week. You're going to see a lot more of those coming up. There's also, you mentioned we did
the top hundreds, the best card of every set, best creature of each type, the 100 Magic facts you probably didn't know.
Yeah, I'm excited. We did top 100 white cards of all time. And I think white is literally the least popular color, so that's probably going to do worse. It'll be the worst viewed for us, but blue is next.
Blue's taking so long. It was just because of Shuffle Scuffle.
Yeah, Shuffle Scuffle really put a damper on that. But BZ just recorded 30 more of them and sent them off to our awesome editor, Greg. What's his last name?
Grainer?
Grainer? Is it Grainer or Griner?
It's Grainer now.
It's Grainer. Hi, Greener. Greg Greener.
The Greg's always greener.
The Greg is always greener. He's an awesome editor, and we love him. But that is our video. Peace out, Tribe Scouts. I said that is our video twice.